Alrighty, good morning everyone. How is everyone this lovely, lovely Sunday, the 25th of June, 2023. I'm Darkside Phil, and welcome to the Level 1 Podcast. Welcome to a new border. This may look similar to the old one, but you may not notice is that there's a tweak. We got someone new. Who's that handsome fellow down there? That's right, that's Clive from Final Fantasy 16, who has been added to our podcast border. In fact, I have another one, too. I'd like to give you a little preview. I'll be using this one later on. You ready for this? Final Fantasy villains, antagonists. How cool is that? But we'll be using that in the future. I just wanted to show you. Got a few new pieces of artwork for the streams. I hope you're all doing well and having a great weekend. Hello, hello, hello. And, what's going on? I don't know what is going on. Well, we're in the midst of a very busy gaming week. Today is essentially the 4th streaming day for me out of a 7-day stream week. So today is the equivalent of my Wednesday. A little weird, because it's Sunday. But, you understand what I'm saying. It is the middle day of the week. Today is an all RPG day, meaning our first stream will be Final Fantasy, and the late stream will be Diablo 4, excuse me. And we'll talk about the schedule in just a second. I also, today on the podcast, would like to go in depth. Now that I am 40 hours into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I've been playing this game for over a month. And I want to relay my feelings about the playthrough, my feelings about the game at large, and quite frankly, my feelings about the reaction that I've gotten to my playthrough and or my feelings about the game. Because I hate to say it, in the modern day, it really feels to me like we're in a place where games have changed, the internet has changed, opinions have changed, and I honestly, I'll tell you this up front before we even start talking about Zelda. I like the game a lot. I'm actually happy I played it, and I'm having a good time with it. Last night, actually the last hour of last night was really cool. I had a great time that last hour of last night where we made tons of progress and the big plot reveal happened, and I was like, ooh, that was neat. After having played that long to finally get the big plot reveal, I was like, ooh, I like that, right? But at the same time, it almost feels like in 2023, God forbid you play a video game that's a major game that, you know, it seems there's a consensus that people really like it, and you say anything critical about it, not even necessarily just negative, like slamming the game, but even trying to be honest and transparent with an audience about your feelings about it, it's like you can't be anymore. Because if you are, oh God, you're just against the norm. You're going against the grain. You don't agree with everyone else. Yeah, you're right. In life, that happens a lot. In life, that happens where people have different experiences based on different things in their lives and their own gaming perspectives and things like that. And I hate to say it, but it just seems to me like people don't seem to respect other people's opinions anymore. We'll talk about that today on the show because I am going to go in depth about my Zelda Tears of the Kingdom playthrough and feelings. And I guarantee you're going to see backlash against the things that I have to say, regardless of the fact that I should have the right to say them. All right? And by the way, again, I got to say this up front. I don't hate Zelda. I actually really like the game. It's just that I'm not in love with it. I don't think it's a flawless masterpiece, and God forbid that I say that on the internet because I get slammed by a community that just loves having their fucking lips on Nintendo's ass, quite frankly. But that'll be a big segment of the show. Outside of that, you know, everything else rolls on. I am excited today to see where Final Fantasy 16 goes after having played 5 hours of the game. We're in the midst of a big, like, dungeon crawl. We actually had gotten to the end of a dungeon and run into Benedicta, where there was a big 2v1 boss fight, which I almost lost, and then I kind of came back from and won, which is excellent. And now I'm curious how this is going to end, because we kind of ended on a cliffhanger last time we played. Tonight on Diablo, it's kind of a similar situation where last time I played Diablo 4, we were nearing the very end of Act 2. And tonight I'm curious to see how that will pan out, if we will actually finish Act 2 tonight and possibly, move on to Act 3, which is a new area of the map. We'll see. But good stuff today and a good streaming week coming up. I do want to forewarn all of you. My allergies have finally kicked in. I don't know if it was like delayed action this year or whatever it was. But my allergies this week really did kick in. So I woke up this morning. Get this. My eyes are puffy and watery. I have full post-nasal drip going down the back of my throat. And my throat is itchy. And I'm like, oh, it's like 3 classic symptoms of allergies all happening at once. I'm like, oh, this sucks ass. So when I went downstairs to have my my breakfast, I popped a Zyzol, one of the allergy medications I got on the cheap when I went to Bed Bath & Beyond a little over a week ago. And I was like, well, I hope this works. Seriously, because, you know, all gunked up. And I can tell you it is working a little. I can feel a little bit of the pressure. My sinus pressure is going down. It does feel like the postnasal drip is drying up a little bit, so that's good. But, man, so today, if I don't sound great, if my voice is cracking or if my voice ends up sounding hoarse or whatever, you know what's going on. This happened yesterday, too, is where I really noticed it in a major way. Of course, yesterday ends up being my react stream when I got to talk the whole time. And I'm like, oh, shit, this kind of sucks, but bad timing. But that's life, right? So anyway, I got the meds in me, and hopefully they kick in soon, and it won't be an issue for today. All right, let's go through the gaming schedule, so you know what to expect every day for the rest of the week, because this is still 4 more days of streaming this week, which I know is abnormal, but we're going to get a good amount of gameplay in this week. So today it's Final Fantasy 16, continuing on, 3 hours of gameplay. You know, excited, interested to see where the game goes. I'm being told this game is mostly linear. That, yeah, there will be some options to choose what you do later on in the playthrough, but as of now, it's going to remain linear. So 3 hours of kind of being handheld and going through a story and playing through dungeons and combat. So we'll see how that goes today. I hope it's good. Like I said, we kind of ended on a cliffhanger last time where we were near the very, very end of this dungeon. We had just beaten a big boss fight, but it wasn't over. Like, you were chasing Benedicta, and then time ran out. And I was like, well, what are you going to do? So now we're back and excited to see how that continues on today. And then tonight with Diablo, yes, I'm curious to see how Act 2 continues and possibly concludes. Also, you know, it's nice that this is another day away from Street Fighter, so we can relax, we can interact, we can have a more chill day. As you know, when I play Street Fighter, that's the opposite, right? Like, when I play Street Fighter, my adrenaline is on max. My nerves are on max. I tend to get peeved and frustrated when something doesn't go my way, and I get very angry at the game or at the situation in general, because half the time it's me and my execution is the reason I'm losing, which really sucks, but what can you do? I'm trying to get better, right? I do feel like I am getting better. It's a slow climb, but I am getting better with particular characters like Blanca. But there's no real time for interaction there. Like, when am I going to have time to sit down and have discussion with you guys when I'm playing Street Fighter 6? I don't. So it's good to have days like today where we're breaking stuff up, and therefore it's not always in a situation where I can't talk with you. I like having more interactions on my stream and more chill gameplay. So that's today. That's what today's all about. RPGs, opportunity for interaction, okay? Tomorrow will be Street Fighter 6. And tomorrow's Street Fighter 6 stream, I think what I'm going to do is tonight, I'm going to watch some videos of Zangief and possibly Lily. I'm going to try to find some top player videos from like the last week and watch and see if I can learn any strategies or things that these guys are doing. Particularly, I'd like to learn dash cancels with both characters, because at this point, I'm ready to learn dash cancels with all the characters I'm using, and I actually don't know much about what dash cancels are good with either one. So, tonight, I'll give it a look. I'll see what I can find on YouTube, and hopefully apply that gameplay tomorrow in a variety Street Fighter 6 stream. Maybe half Lily, half Zangief. We'll see. I'm debating who to start with. If I start with Zangief, let me see how it goes. If I'm doing well, then I'll continue with Zangief the whole stream. We'll figure it out on the fly. Okay, then tomorrow night, with the continuation of Zelda. So there'll be more Zelda tomorrow. The good news is it seems like we are heading into the end game of Zelda. We have one more major dungeon to do, and then we have the final kind of finale segment and final dungeon to wrap up the playthrough. So it looks like Zelda, of all the games in my rotation, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will likely be the one that I complete first within another maybe week to 2 weeks. And once that's done, then we can put something else into that spot. Whether it's a whole new game, whether it's maybe doing the World Tour mode of Street Fighter 6, which people have been asking for and I just don't have time to do right now. Whatever it may be, we'll have something new added in there so that it feels fresh and it's not just the same games for months on end. Okay? So that's cool. Then Tuesday, it'll be another RPG day. More Final Fantasy 16 and more Diablo 4. And then Wednesday will be Street Fighter 6 again, and Wednesday's stream will be up in the air. Will I want to maybe go back to Blanca, try to hit Diamond? Would I want to maybe try Chun-Li again? Maybe go back to Marisa? I'm not sure. I'll leave it up open again as an open multiplayer stream on Wednesday. And then Wednesday night will be more Zelda. So, you know, between another 2 streams this week, perhaps we'll finish up the 4th region of the map, the Gerudo Desert. Maybe we'll beat the dungeon, and then we can move into the end game for next week, which would be great if that were the case. Okay? So, there you go. That's the schedule for the rest of the week. Now, keep in mind, next week, very special event coming up on Sunday, July 2nd. That is 1 week from today. So that means next weekend's going to be interesting. We're going to have the React show on Saturday. And then we're going to have all day Sunday. DSP's. DSP. Or Digital Summer Party. All right? Very exciting. Very different kind of stuff. A marathon event. It's not all about the gameplay. Instead, it's all about us chilling and having a cool, laid-back, party-like vibe. There'll be some special festivities planned for the day, which I will not spoil yet. But in addition to that, we're going to be going through the schedule for the entirety of the year, listing all the new release games and the release dates, and picking out individually which ones I'll be playing at launch, and which ones maybe we'll have to go on the back burner and say, let's wait for those, and which ones I'm not interested in. So by that day, 1 week from today, everyone, including myself, will now have a new perspective on games coming out this year and which ones I'm covering, for my schedule. In addition, we're going to be doing some tier maker rankings, including American Fair Food and other things. In addition to that, there'll probably be some Street Fighter 6 gameplay for variety. Also, food. My wife will be making multiple different recipes for a mukbang slash, feasting with Phil series of videos over the course of the day. That will be fun, obviously. Among maybe other things, let's play it by ear, but there's a lot of potential of fun things that we can do during this marathon event all day next Sunday. So I hope that you guys will join me next Sunday for the big party here on DSP Gaming, and that content will be split up to be uploaded amongst, stuff here on this channel versus stuff over on DSP Reacts. I would think the food vlogs and the tier maker videos fit perfectly over on DSP Reacts. Meanwhile, things like the game schedule and the Street Fighter 6 gameplay obviously fit here. So, there you have it. Let's see how it goes over the week. I hope you guys will join me on Sunday of next week if you can make it for a big party-like atmosphere and a special way to start the gaming summer. All right? Then, we will continue on with all of my current playthroughs until, stuff starts wrapping up. In July, there absolutely will be some new playthroughs. I'm leaning towards Pikmin 4 and another one. The thing is, I want to do the gaming schedule next week before I promise you guys what I'll be playing, so let's not get ahead of ourselves, but that's coming, okay? And then, the other big event that's going to happen in July, which is going to probably happen in the second half of July, is a special Machinima-themed event. June the King just made a documentary about Machinima that's about 50 minutes long, and I like to watch it and live react to it because I'm one of the few YouTubers who was a longtime partner of Machinima. Over 6 years I was with that company until finally I severed ties for a pretty bad reason. We had a pretty bad falling out, and I'd like to talk about all of that and add my own perspective, but I've got all these unique stories and interesting information I can add because I was such a longtime partner with Machinima that would add to the documentary that June made, and it's going to basically be a special event. I'm not sure what we should call it yet. Some people were like the funeral for Machinima. Some people were like the exhumation of Machinima. It's weird because Machinima's been dead for years. They've been gone. And, having someone actually formally do a documentary was something rare. Like, no one had really covered the story before June did. And now, for me to add in my own perspective and additional content and all this new stuff you probably had no idea even existed, it's going to be a very interesting event. Spartanius one says, what about the Machinima Massacre? Oh, yeah, maybe we can call it that. DSP's Machinima Massacre. Why not? That sounds pretty good. The Machinima Massacre, or something similar to that. Because essentially that's what it is. We're basically putting this behind and burying it. It's something that I haven't really talked about in one concerted effort ever, right? Like, over the years, I've talked about my working with Machinima and the ups and downs and, how chaotic and almost bipolar that company acted in a lot of cases. But I've never really talked about it in one place. It's always been, every once in a while in a vlog, Phil will mention Machinima or in Ask the King or whatever. But this will be one concerted, everything focused, concentrated at once. It'll be neat, to say the least, all right? So that's coming up probably in mid to late July, a special event, all right? And then in August/September, my 15th anniversary event where I'm celebrating 15 years as a content creator. There's going to be retrospectives. There's going to be retro playthrough gameplay. There's going to be all kinds of fun stuff coming up for that event. Trust me, it should be really neat. So, All right, cool. The continual downfall of Wings. Oops, I mean Machinima. That would be an interesting name for the event, but I don't think that would apply. I don't think that would apply fully. All right. Anyway, Adam is asking, can I donate a PS3? Please, if you want to talk to me about that stuff, please email me. darksidephil@hotmail.com. We can talk about that kind of stuff behind the scenes. I don't want to publicly talk about donations or anything like that. Doesn't make sense. All you're going to do is rile up trolls and stuff. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that off camera. If you want to email me, we'll talk about it behind the scenes and, go from there. By the way, something to show you guys. Hold on. So, as you guys know, I play a lot of games on my Xbox Series X, and I use rechargeable batteries. Well, I've been using them for about 2 straight years, and finally, over the course of this week, one of the batteries isn't really working anymore. Like, I'll plug it and it'll charge, but then when I go to use it, it dies within like 30 minutes. This happened yesterday. I'm on my React stream, and basically, it says, oh, your battery's dead. Okay, let me swap. So I swapped to the other battery, which I always have charged. And by the end of the stream, it said, oh, your battery's dead. I was like, what? That was like 30 minutes. So what that means is one of those batteries, the memory in it has been shot and isn't really working properly anymore. And it's just not charging anymore. I don't know what's going on with that, and I don't know how long the battery life is for these kind of rechargeable batteries. It's kind of weird that one of the batteries seems perfectly fine and works great, and the other one is messed up. But it's not like I spent a lot of money on these. This is something I bought on a whim 2 years ago. When I got my Xbox Series X, it was kind of a surprise because a fan donated it, and I just went to the store. I think it was like Target, and they just happened to have a battery pack there, and I think it was like $40, so I bought it. And it lasted about 2 years, but I was like, I guess it's time to get a new one. So last night I ordered off... rush order off Amazon. I got a new play and charge kit. It's kind of generic. I don't even know the name of the company. I don't even know what the name of the company is on here. It's literally just play and charge kit for Xbox One and Xbox Series controllers. It literally doesn't even have a brand name on it. It really doesn't. All right, so basically, I got new batteries. I'm charging them right now. So tonight, when we play Diablo, I'll be testing out this battery for the very first time. Cheap, $23 off Amazon. So actually about half the price of what I paid for the Play and Charge kit 2 years ago. And they work with both Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X controllers. It just has a different like door. Like to show you what I mean. So there's your Xbox controller. There's the back. And there's your battery door. And there's your rechargeable battery pack. So that's one of the new packs, not charged yet. I just put it in there to see if it would fit. And they give you 2 size doors to put on your controller. One fits the Xbox One and one fits the Xbox Series S and X. So this is the one for the S and X. And it literally just pops right on top. And you can charge it by plugging it in there. You can actually have a dock. You know, you have those charging docks you can put it on. Or you can unplug it and plug it. You can actually just plug it in like manually as well. So there's various different ways to do it, but that's how I do it. I have these 2 battery packs, and the way I do it is I don't plug it in directly with the controller. Right now, the other battery pack is charging right now. So what I do is I always have one charging, and I have one ready to go in the controller. That way you have 2 that you alternate between. So that's what I'm going to start doing. The other ones I had were green, which is weird. Like, I don't know why they were green. These are black, so they actually blend into the controller a little better, except the battery door covers they give you are black, but the back of my controller is white, so it doesn't really match it, but I'm not going to nitpick. Who gives a shit about the color of the controller, right? I don't need it to be aesthetically perfect, as long as I don't have to keep buying AA batteries. So I'm going to let you know how these work once they start working. Right now, it's still charging. I assume the first charge will take a while. So later today when I play Diablo will be the first time I use these battery packs, and I'm going to keep using it, for other games and playthroughs moving forward. So I'll be able to tell you exactly what I think. What's funny, though, is the only game I'm playing right now would be Diablo, because you think Zelda's on Switch. Street Fighter, I'm using my joystick and not a gamepad. and Final Fantasy is on PS5. So actually, the only game right now I'm actively using these batteries for would be Diablo. Anyway, just throwing that out there, and I'll obviously let you know once I start using it actively how these batteries work. It just says Play and Charge Kit. I don't even know the name of the company. I wish I could like say, hey, I'll let you know a product review later, but it doesn't even have a name on it. It's seriously that generic. $23 on Amazon. Okay, so. All right, folks, let's get to the meat of it. I want to talk, by the way, thank you. Some people have tipped and someone super chatted. I will give you full shout outs at the end of the show. As always, shout outs come near the second half of the podcast. What I'd like to do is get into the meat of what I want to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now 40 hours in. Someone just said, why are my pants blue? Because these are my Zelda Breath of the Wild pants. Because I'm a fan of goddamn Zelda, and I wear Zelda pants. See? So you all made fun of me. You made fun of me, a 41-year-old gamer on TikTok, and you said I'm a horrible gamer because I don't understand the lightning mechanic of Zelda. But I'm a fan. I have Zelda pants. Do you have Zelda pants? I didn't think so. You don't have Zelda pants. You don't have the right to say that my issues with the lightning are invalid because you're not wearing Zelda pants. I'm insulated from your bullshit because I wear Zelda pants. You see? Anyway, off. So, I am officially, as of now, 40 hours into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, what's funny is everyone told me the game's 100 hours long, yet, according to people watching the playthrough, they're like, so here's the deal. You have one major dungeon left, the Gerudo Desert Dungeon, which will take a while to do because, like all these major dungeons, you have, like, a storyline around it before you can even access the dungeon, and then you have the dungeon itself. So I'm assuming probably 4 more hours there, maybe to get through the Gerudo area. Then apparently, after I wrap up that dungeon, there's one final area of the game that will open up, and that's kind of the finale. So even if you say that finale is another 4 hours, I mean, that's about 48 hours, I'm done with the game. All right? So then where does the 100 hours come in? Well, 100 hours comes in because this game has such an insane amount of content in it that if you actually have the time to fully explore and extrapolate and do everything that's in the game, all right, you basically could spend 100 hours in it, and you could, have a lot of meaningful time in that. But for me, someone who I've been balancing this game with other playthroughs, as you know, and someone who I knew this month of June was going to be incredibly hectic for new releases between Street Fighter 6, which was going to take up a ton of my time, and Diablo, which was going to take up some of my time, and now with Final Fantasy 16 out, I knew I was not going to be able to really be focused on Zelda. I even told you guys when I started with Zelda last month, I warned everyone. I said, for a game that everyone is describing as being an insanely lengthy and insanely content-heavy game, you have to understand that there's other things coming out that are going to end up being priority. First of all, just to be honest, I don't have a mainstream Nintendo viewer base. I don't. I really don't. The people who like to watch people who are Nintendo gamers aren't coming to DSPGaming to watch me play this game, right? They're just not. In fact, when I play Nintendo games, I find it's more of a niche style playthrough where I'll get a certain group of my viewers, but not all of them. And a lot of people, for some reason, just don't like Nintendo games and always skip whenever I play. Even Nintendo games that I'm absolutely loving every aspect of, like Super Mario Odyssey. People would tell me, oh, you're wrong, it's not that good, and why are you playing this kiddie game? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nintendo games are not kiddie games. Some people still very, very unfairly and erroneously categorize all Nintendo games as kiddie games and don't want to watch me play them for some odd reason. It's so weird because I love first-party Nintendo games. I just don't get that kind of prejudice against them. It's kind of irrational in my opinion. But anyway, knowing well that I don't have a mainstream viewer base of Nintendo gamers, and that if I play Zelda, it's going to end up being a game that's going to be a late-night chill stream. There's no way this could continue to be a daytime stream because it's not going to get mainstream-style support. You know what I'm saying? I very well knew what was going to happen, that this month, as soon as the new releases hit, Zelda was going to take a backseat. Zelda was going to get played a lot less. I was probably going to have to streamline my playthrough to focus in on the more important things in the game. And therefore, there was no way my playthrough was going to be 100 hours long, and I wasn't going to be able to please those who are kind of the Nintendo purists, those who demand that you do things in a certain way, and say, if you don't, you've done it wrong. And I really feel like, sadly, that's kind of what's happened with this playthrough, because allow me to give you, to cover both sides of the coin here. If you actually feel that someone playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in a 100-hour playthrough is the way to play it, and if someone's only playing through it 40 hours, and they're a month into the game and barely making progress and crawling along, and then along the way complaining about certain game mechanics, you may be pretty upset. And this thing is, I know for a fact that there's a group of people that's the case, where they're watching my playthrough and they're like, dude, he's not taking his time with the game. He's skipping all of this content that he's coming up against and just running right by it. It seems like he's really rushing through. What's funny is, I want you to understand what I just said. I'm 40 hours into the game. I probably still arguably have another 8 to 10 hours if I even just want to just go right to the end and beat it. So you're talking a 48 to 50 hour playthrough, and people are complaining that I'm rushing through it. Does that not really make sense from, if you're not playing the game, all right? From an outsider's perspective, just listen to that. He's almost 50 hours into the game, and people are saying he's rushing through it. Do you see? Do you see the dichotomy there? Do you see the disconnect? Any other game, if you said, wow, someone's 58 hours or 48 hours or something into the game, wow, they really must be enjoying their game if they sunk that much time and effort into the playthrough. But for Zelda, it's like, that's not nearly enough. You should have done way more. And it's like, what? Like, why? Just because it's Zelda? Just because it's Nintendo? I don't get that. Because if the name Zelda wasn't in the title, I feel like I wouldn't be getting that criticism for the playthrough. It would be like, wow, you know, he's spending a lot of time on this. This is good. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I really do feel that way about the game. Now, here's the deal, and I'm going to say this again. I like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I certainly wouldn't still be playing it, and I wouldn't be having it in my rotation if I didn't like it, okay? But there's certain things I really like about it. There's some things I kind of like about it. And then there's some things that I really feel like are just, you know, not done well. And I've been very vocal about this, trying to be fair with the game and, you know, giving you my honest perspective. And I'm well aware that most people probably don't agree with me. And there's a couple reasons. Number one, because Nintendo has that fan base of people that kind of feel like Nintendo can do no wrong. And I disagree. Although I'm certainly not saying that's everyone. There certainly seems to be this Nintendo defense force that always comes out. Whenever you criticize a Nintendo game, fairly or not, it really doesn't matter. What ends up happening is you get people who jump down your throat, right? Oh my God, how dare you criticize this game because it's first party Nintendo. Obviously, it's a masterpiece, and God forbid that you would say a single thing bad about it. You're just in the wrong no matter what. Even if it's constructive criticism, it doesn't matter, right? And that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Now, let's talk. Let's talk about my Zelda Tears of the Kingdom playthrough and what I've liked about the game and what I don't like about the game. I feel like a lot of things that for some people are positives, sadly can be negatives for others. And I feel like a lot of things that started off strong can actually bite this game in the butt, all right? First of all, one of the things that I've described when I've described Tears of the Kingdom is I said the game is bloated, okay? I think some people have misunderstood what I mean by that, all right? When I say the game is bloated, what I mean is the game has an incredible amount of content, okay? Now, here's the thing. If you're sitting there and you feel like all of that insane amount of content is meaningful, then you wouldn't feel bloat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have a meal that's a giant meal, but if everything there is absolutely delicious and nothing is over too much in one direction, you have a well-balanced meal. It could feel like you had an amazing meal and you could still be full but not bloated, right? I hate to say it, I don't feel that way with Tears of the Kingdom. I do feel like the game suffers very much from bloat because it's coming from a perspective of someone who's a super fan of Zelda, and in particular, someone who's a super fan of Breath of the Wild, all right? So what do I mean by that, all right? Well, first of all, the game has an incredible amount of content no matter where you go or what you do. There's new locations, new camps, new combat challenges, new dungeons to find, new challenge dungeons with puzzles. Small enemies, giant enemies, secrets to be found, traversal to be had. There's story elements with the Tears of the Dragon, And there's non-story elements with completely optional side quests with characters that have their own little side stories that can add to the game. I mean, just to give you some perspective on some of the stuff in the game, there's horse travel, but you don't ever need it, but there's horse travel. There's all this building and mechanics with the physics of, you know, building vehicles and doing all of that. You literally don't ever need it, but it's in there if you want to do it, you see? So for someone who's sitting down and saying, all right, I literally have unlimited time, unlimited resources, I can just sit here and enjoy this game at face value for what it is. This might be an insane masterpiece and the best game that you've ever played. And that's fine. And I respect that opinion. I really do. Because the tools are there to say that this game is absolutely amazing. But when you make a video game and when you play a video game, not everyone is in the same perspective. Not everyone has said unlimited time, unlimited resources, and the ability to just sit there at endless lengths and enjoy a game. Some people actually want some guidance. Some people want to know what's the important thing to do and what's not. Some people want to say, all right, do I need to bother to learn this incredibly intricate gameplay mechanic of building this vehicle painstakingly and understanding all the physics of the game and understanding the building mechanics and the battery mechanics of the game and all of this? Do I need to drive a giant mech across the battlefield destroying everything in my path? Or can I just walk from point A to point B and do a quest? Tears of the Kingdom essentially does absolutely nothing whatsoever to explain the system to you. Like, it's everything's there, and you can either take as much time as you want to mess with it and learn it, or you can completely ignore it. Now, if you take the time to mess with it and learn it, you'll probably have a better time with the game. If you're building unique vehicles to traverse areas and you're finding these cool extra optional stuff, and now you have better armor that you found because you explored more, and you found the great fairies, so now you can upgrade your armor, now your armor's better, and you found better items to combine to make really good weapons, and now there's optional bosses in the game. You can take on the optional bosses because you have the better equipment and all that. So you're getting the full experience of the game if you are taking your absolute time with it. But not everyone can do that. And what I'm finding with this game is that it does an absolute great job of creating a robust, complex, content-filled open world system, and it does an absolutely terrible job of doing any kind of semblance of pacing, any kind of semblance of guidance, or, for example, for someone who maybe just wanted to play a Zelda game and enjoy a Zelda game, it does a poor job at that. Because in reality, Tears of the Kingdom really isn't a Zelda game. It's a different animal entirely. That doesn't mean it's a bad game. Actually, quite the opposite. I actually feel that if you are an open world gamer, and this is the game you sit down with to take your time with in 2023, and you ignore all the other white noise around you, this is probably your game of the year because of the way that it's laid out and the incredible amount of content and things like that. But not everyone does that. Not everyone is of the mindset that I'm just sitting down just to play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom this year. It's like, well, Zelda's just one thing I'm doing this year amongst many other things, and I'd like to enjoy a Zelda game. I actually feel like the game fails in that regard. Just to give you some perspective, I actually feel like Breath of the Wild does it better. And here's why. In Breath of the Wild, everything is new. It's a brand new world. It's the first time you're experiencing any of this. Not to say that there aren't connections and throwbacks to other Zelda games. There totally are. But the first time you walk into, say, Hateno Village, and all of a sudden you're talking with the townspeople, and you realize this village is interesting, and there's quest lines there you need to do. You meet Pura for the first time, and the scientist group, and you're doing questing for them. And later on, you have a house that's your own and stuff like that. That feels really, 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 really meaningful to you, right? It's a really important part of the game. In this game, when you walk into Hateno Village, it's like, oh, it's that village from the first game. Are there a couple side quests? Yeah, you could do a side quest to color your clothes or whatever. Okay. Do you need to do anything in the town? Absolutely not. It's just there as a reference to the first game and can be completely skipped and adds nothing. Like, literally, you can skip the whole town and there's nothing to it. You walk into Kakariko Village. Again, another village. There was major plot developments in the first game. It was a big focus of the plot there with Impa and, you know, and the townspeople and how that tied into the world of Breath of the Wild and the calamity and everything going on. And here you walk in there, no one's even there. It's like the leader's missing, not there. You talk to some, half the people won't even let you go through half the, oh, we were told not to let you up there because there's ruins. Don't even go there. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like they wanted to make a sequel. But when they did, they didn't have use for half the stuff from the first game. So why did they bother making the sequel? That's bloat. When you have content that's, oh, look, here's a reference to the first game. By the way, it has no meaning in this one. Then what was the point? And the answer is there is none. There's no meaning to half the stuff in the game. It's just there as a reference point to the first, but you could have skipped the first and just played this one, to which case half the stuff you encounter, you'll be like, what is this? Like, what? I don't even understand what this crap is. Like, why does Hateno Village exist? There's no real major quest lines there. There's no real ties to the plot. Why is it even in the game? And why does it look so significant? Because it was significant in the first game, and they just have it as, like, fan service reference to the first game. I really honestly feel like if this game was its own standalone game and was not a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, it would be better. Why? Because then everything you do would feel meaningful and a first-time discovery, you know? And as neat as it is to rediscover certain areas, and maybe in this case they have different meaning, like, for example, you go to the Zora Village, and in the first game it had this one plot line going for it, and in this game it's a completely different plot line that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, it's the same thing you did in the first game. You know what I mean? Like, it does lose some of its meaning. I don't understand why this needed to be a direct sequel, especially because it seems like that entire plot line of the Calamity from Breath of the Wild has been completely glossed over as if it never mattered. In which case, the whole first game was a waste of your time. It really feels that way. The whole beginning plot of this game is basically saying the Calamity plotline didn't matter. Even if it happened or didn't, erase it from memory, because here's a whole new plotline going on, superfluous outside of the realm of the Calamity plotline. Like, all that big buildup in the first game saying the Calamity is the end of this world and everything, we've got to stop it. You stopped it. Oh, it doesn't matter because now another thing is here anyway that supersedes it. So then what was the point of the whole first game? There was none. I do feel like in their rush to make a new Zelda game, because Breath of the Wild did so well and they wanted to capitalize on that, they sadly made a game that doesn't feel nearly as full of wonder as Breath of the Wild did. Now listen, they added sky floating islands and they added underground exploration. Great, good for you. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff up there with puzzles and the like, but never once in this playthrough yet have I really felt that feeling of wonderment and discovery like I did in Breath of the Wild, first discovering things like, oh, the Lost Woods. Ooh, the floating labyrinth in the sky. That's a whole optional puzzle that's really interesting because I don't know what it is and if it leads to anything good. Oh my god, I'm climbing Death Mountain and there's a giant salamander creature on it that's actually a boss dungeon that we're going to do. Like, you don't feel that in the game. You just don't. It's kind of like I already was in this world. I already know where everything is. And the other thing, too, I hate this whole premise of we played a whole game in this fucking world, you know, an 80-hour playthrough. Now we're back for the sequel. Everything's forgotten. Oh, your map has been reset. Everything's done. Fuck you. Spent all that time in the first game. Now I gotta go through this whole fucking game and remap everything again? Right? Like, geez, thanks a lot. I really feel like my time was well used in the first one. Like I said, maybe if it wasn't reusing the same map again, it would feel better because then it would make sense. But if this was, oh, by the way, screw off, now go remap the whole world again. Dude, I already did that in the first one. I gotta do it again? So here's the thing. Again, I'm not saying the game's bad at all, but man, it feels bloated. It feels like they were really going for, let's throw in the absolute most amount of content we possibly can throw at you in one video game, but never really directing you towards feeling what's meaningful. Now, not to say that the game doesn't say, hey, here's the 4 big dungeons, head in that direction. It absolutely does that. But the point I'm making is if you just head for those dungeons, the game sucks. Because you don't have armor. Because you don't have, you know, better weapons. You didn't take the time to explore and get the plot. I mean, you won't even get the plot of the game if you just focus on the 4 major dungeons. The plot is based around the tiers of the dragon you need to find on the map. You absolutely, bare minimum, should be finding all those tiers before you beat the game, or else you haven't gotten the story, right? So, it's just, to me, it doesn't feel like a Zelda experience. You know what I'm saying? Like a Zelda experience, when you're going through the game, you're going to get the main plot of the game no matter how you play it, right? You're going to have these core experiences of each dungeon, and those are going to be meaningful to you. and then you're going to get a heightened climax where there's probably a big showdown in a final dungeon and a big boss at the end and all of that. And not to say that that's not present in this game, but the game just throws so much at you that everything feels badly paced and very much disjointed. And the funny part about it too is like, it seems like no matter how you play it, it's not good enough for Nintendo fans. Like, for example, if I beeline for a dungeon, oh, he's just rushing, right? So last night, for example, I wanted to explore the southwestern part of the map. So I did. I actually was jumping between the different mountains. There were different tiers of the dragon that I wanted to hit up because I wanted to get the full story of the game. So I'm doing that. I start reading video comments. Oh my God, why did he do it like that? All he had to do was ride the road from Point Lookout, and it would have, or Lookout Landing, or whatever it's called. It would have taken him right into the Gerudo Desert. He literally wasted an hour of time traversing the mountains. Why would he just take the main road? And I was like, wait, what? So if I take my time to explore and find things in the game at my own pace, and I'm enjoying the plot line, that's bad. Why didn't I just take the road, right? But if I had taken the road, it would have been, oh, well, you see, he didn't take his time to find the cutscenes, so now he doesn't know the plot of the game because he rushed through it. It's like, what the fuck? So how exactly am I supposed to play it, right? It seems like no matter what I do or how I play the game, it's not good enough for the Nintendo fans. So then why the fuck do I give a fuck about what the Nintendo fans think, right? And the funny part is, again, I actually enjoyed myself last night. The first hour last night was a pain in the ass because I got into this optional area. And here's what I mean about bloat, okay? There's an optional area that opens up at Point, or Lookout Landing, that leads you into this ginormous cave system. You think it's going to take you like 5 minutes. No, I did it for 45 minutes. I wasn't done yet. It just continued on and on and on. It was like an endless amount of tunnels blocked by boulders. There was a boss down there. There was all this shit. And I got a few resources, and I found a few early game armor pieces down there. But even I'd done it for 45 minutes, and it wasn't done yet. And I'm like, dude, how long is this going to fucking go? I thought this was going to be like a 5-minute thing. And here we go with the bloat. Because who knows what's down here? Is there anything meaningful to my playthrough or not? Come to find out, actually not really. There would have been a third piece of armor I didn't find. And apparently it would have led me to Hyrule Castle. Okay? Which would have been fine. But there's really no reason for me to be there. There's no dungeon there or anything right now. So there's no point in really going there. And a lot of people are saying it's something that people did early on if they wanted to get that armor set, and it helped them before they started finding other armor sets, but I already have other armor sets. Well, how would I know that? You don't know. When a game has so much content and no guidance, you could just stumble upon something late game that you think is interesting, and it's not. It's early game. It's a waste of time. You wasted an hour, right? And I really did. I basically wasted a whole hour last night for the first hour doing this stupid cave. So then after that, I said, forget it. Let's go to other content, right? Let's go find the cutscenes. Let's go do the Tears of the Dragon. And we did all of those, and that was great. It actually fleshed out the story of the game. And then I don't want to give spoilers because there's a critical plot point during the Tears of the Dragon quest line that's really, really important, okay? So without spoiling a major plot point, something really critical happens. And then there's like a race against time. And basically, it was really suspenseful and interesting, and I did it, and I was like, wow. And something really awesome happened at the very, very end of last night's stream. And I was like, wow, that was giant, giant plot development. And I'm glad that I did it, right? So it's kind of like I wasted an entire hour of my stream, and then the second hour was like insane amount of development, exploration. By the way, now I've done every tower in the game, so the whole map is mapped out for me now. So it's kind of like 2 hours of completely conflicted pacing. And do you understand what I'm saying? In one case, I could spend an hour in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and literally get nothing done whatsoever of any point or use. And then I could play another hour and I could turbo mode important stuff, right? I did 2 or 3 Tears of the Kingdom back to back. I hit up all the towers. A critical plot point happened, and now something crazy happened for endgame. And I'm like, whoa, all within another hour. That's not good pacing. It's just not. And the point I'm making, where was the bloat? The bloat was the first hour. My entire first hour last night of streaming Zelda could have been cut out, and nothing would have been missed, and I would have been able to use that hour for something more interesting. And that's the problem. They put too much in the game that is bloat. That doesn't add to anything. When I can skip entire villages because they're just side content in this game, that's bloat. In Breath of the Wild, every village mattered. Every dungeon mattered. Every piece of the content mattered because it was all adding to this big world building thing, and there were critical plots in each part. In Tears of the Kingdom, half the content seems like it doesn't make a difference. And again, if you're painstakingly taking your time to do it all, because you have unlimited time, unlimited resources, and this is the only game you're playing, then maybe it has some meaning to you, and it doesn't matter if you wasted an hour because you have another 400 hours to play the game. But for other people who live in reality, who don't fucking have unlimited time and resources to enjoy one video game, yeah, I'm angry when I waste an hour of my time because the game didn't explain what was down there and it was a bloated in bullshit. You know, that pisses me off. And there's been many times in this playthrough where there's bloat and there's bullshit instead of meaningful content. That's not good. Okay? Now, by the way, I'm not saying that every video game should be 20 hours long streamlined plot. I'm not saying that, all right? But I'm saying that at least the game should have a guide or a path to do it that way, right? And it doesn't. So, essentially the way I see it is, it's a mixed bag for me. I do really like the game. What are my favorite parts of Tears of the Kingdom? The Tears of the Dragon, like exploring those geoglyphs, seeing those cutscenes. The major dungeons have been great. Like, I've done 3 out of the 4. We're heading to the 4th. I didn't dislike a single major dungeon. I felt like they were well designed, curated to be unique experiences for the gamer. You can do them in different ways in some cases. Like the 3rd major dungeon, I actually did a big shortcut, which was really cool that you can actually do that. The boss fights so far, the major boss fights have been good. Okay, I have no complaints there. And to some extent, the exploration, just like the exploration of Breath of the Wild, I feel like the open world exploration has been some of the neater part of the game. Okay? But, admittedly, a lot of that element has been taken away when you've already been here before. You've already done this map. I mean, where's the real exploration? The underground where it's dark and you can't see half the shit. Or the sky where, sadly, you don't have freedom to really explore because you don't have freedom to fly around. You know, you always have to be reliant on launching yourself up on a tower or finding another way up there, which is very limiting. Now, some people are, oh, well, you should have researched the building and built a fucking vehicle that would infinitely let you fly around up there. Yeah, here's the thing. There's always an answer to every criticism you have for the game, but the answer always results in the following. Spend more time on the bloat of the game, right? Like, for example, yesterday I was in this underground cave and there was this boss. So I'm fighting the boss, and it hits me once. Now, I have 11 hearts, all right? I don't have, like, 3 hearts. I have 11 hearts. I've spent a significant amount of time in the game leveling up my health. This boss still insta-kills you, takes 11 hearts with 1 hit. Can you name another Zelda game where a boss takes 11 hearts in 1 hit? Just think about this. No. It's never happened before. They just decided to make it like that in this game. So, what's the solution? I don't understand, because everything I did in this cave up to now was not a problem. Why does this boss insta-kill you? Here's the solution people say to me. Oh, you should have got more hearts. I should have got more hearts. I'm 40 hours into the game. This is not a 10-hour run and I ran into the boss. I'm 40 hours into the game. I've more than tripled to quadrupled the amount of hearts I had at the beginning. Do you understand? I have armor on. That I have some defense on. Right? If the solution is you should have just endlessly grinded and spent more time wasted in the game to level up menial things, that's not a solution. That's a cop-out, and that's basically you trying to shrug off criticism for the game that deserves it. No, there shouldn't be enemies in the game that hit you for 11 hearts. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely preposterous. That shouldn't happen. And the solution shouldn't be spend another 10 hours grinding in the side shrines to level up your hearts more. No, that should not be the answer. That's a bad answer. That's a game design flaw that should be called out. Not just spend even more time in the game you already felt was bloated. That's not a solution. That's a cop-out, okay? But people don't want to hear that. They don't like hearing honest criticism about a game that they're in love with. Sadly, this game is not perfect. It's good. Don't get me wrong. There's real high highs in the game. Last night, it's hard for me to not spoil the plot point of what happened last night because actually I loved it. That moment that happened, I was like, wow, that was really neat. It was like a culmination of a lot of work that I did in the game, and it panned out to something really neat at the end, you know? That's one of the best things you could do in a video game is when you spend a lot of time, all right, on something. When you spend a lot of time on it, right? And you're investing a lot of effort. And then basically at the end of that time and effort, there's a big rewarding culmination at the end. That's one of the best things that can happen in a video game. And that happened last night. And I was like, dude, that's gonna be one of the moments that resonates in my head of this playthrough at the end. When I beat it, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna remember that moment. That's cool. That's gonna be one of my big takeaways, right? And the game has those big takeaways. So it's not a horrible game. This game, I'm criticizing it, but I want you to understand I am really liking it. I am. But it definitely is not a game for someone who is not just focused on it. You know what I mean? It's just not. They didn't design it like that. It's like, well, you won't get instant killed, stomped by enemies if you spend another 20 hours grinding for hearts. What? No, that's the opposite of what I want to hear as an answer. That's literally like that. I'm already telling you I'm 40 hours in and I feel like the game has bloat and I feel like more meaningful stuff had happened in the 40 hours I played, and your solution was spend 20 more hours grinding. Like, no. Anyway, and it's funny because right now I see certain people in the chat completely disagreeing with me, which is fine. But then there's other people who are disagreeing with me and then completely write off my opinion. Oh, you see, he's wrong. All right, here's the thing. All right, and here's something that I've definitely learned. All right, in life, you have to at least try to see from another person's perspective. You have to, okay? Because as I've gotten older, what I've realized is that when I was younger, I used to be a very opinionated person, even here as a YouTuber, right? And my problem with that is I used to say, it's my way or the highway. I would have a very strong opinion about something. I really liked it or I really hated it. And that opinion was fact for me. It wasn't like that's my opinion. That's fact. And God forbid anyone ever disagree with me on my opinion. Like, that's horrible that someone would disagree with me because I'm in the right. And I should show everyone the way. The truthful way of how, you know what I mean? And, sadly, I feel like a lot of people are still kind of stuck in that mindset like I used to be in. Today, if someone disagrees with me on something, what I try to do is try to understand the perspective, even if I don't agree with it. And even if maybe I can't really fully logically put myself into that perspective they're in, I still try to respect the fact that they have a feeling about something. Do you understand what I'm saying? And, excuse me. That's why when people are coming at me and saying, you're absolutely wrong, Zelda is great, and here's why. And I'm like, well, I agree it's good. I don't think it's the best game ever made, like a lot of people are saying, but I definitely like it a lot. But I think that there's flaws, and I have the right to criticism. And some people are like, no, you don't. Because everything you're saying is just factually wrong. You're telling me it's factually wrong that it could be unfair feeling that you just lost 11 hearts to one hit. You don't think it's factually, like there's a problem with the fact that the answer to the problem is you should have just spent lots more time invested in the game. Like, what? I just don't get that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it drives me nuts. If my feeling is that the game has bloat, how could I be factually wrong if it's a feeling? Right? But here's the thing, is that there's always going to be people who disagree, and that's okay. And I've learned to get a lot more understanding of the fact that I'm different from other people. My opinions very much, a lot of cases can differ from other people. And I don't get upset about it anymore. I'm not going to sit here and rant and say, well, you're all wrong for disagreeing with me or whatever. I'm just going to try to relay my own opinion and my perspective, okay? From my perspective, Tears of the Kingdom is a good game. It's a great game, actually, because the highs that it has are quite good. Like I said, so far, the 3 major dungeons I've done, I've enjoyed every single one. A lot of the exploration has been very fun, and discovery has been very fun. And I really liked the Tears of the Dragon plot line. All right, that's the main story plot line of the game, and I feel like that's critical to the game. You absolutely, if you're playing this game, should experience that. If you didn't do it, you did miss out on a major part of the game that, should be experienced. So those are my highs, But for all of that, there's, what I feel is a lot of menial exploration that doesn't feel as meaningful in this one because you're discovering locations that literally don't have really much to do with the plot at all. They're just there for a throwback connection to the first game, which makes them feel kind of a waste of time, which is a shame, because in the first game, these places are very meaningful, and this one, they're not. Same thing with the gameplay mechanics. Major complaint of everyone in the first game, we didn't like the fact that everything's constantly breaking and all of that. So what did they do? They, double down on it. They totally made it, just as bad, if not worse, than this one. It's like they just ignore the feedback they got from common gamers saying we don't want a system where everything's constantly breaking. It's just too tedious and annoying. They just double down on it. It made it even worse, in my opinion. Not to say, again, that it breaks the game, but it certainly makes it more painstaking and tedious to get through. You know? And the whole idea that, oh, the difference between this one and the first one is this new hand mechanic where you can combine and do puzzles. I like the puzzles. I've actually really enjoyed a lot of the puzzles and things, but there is some wonkiness to the physics of it. There's some problems with the graphics, too, where the graphics kind of chop up in certain situations, or the camera is really bad in certain combat situations. Well, you know what's really annoying me, which I called out a bunch of times and I always forget to criticize? A lot of the times when you're doing the floating hand mechanic, you're grabbing items, you're trying to position them to combine them or whatever, the camera won't go to the right spacing, so you can't see it. It's like right here in front of you, but the camera's like here. I just want to see the item. Why is the camera stuck? So I can't tell where I'm positioning something. It's definitely something that should be fixed or criticized or improved. And, you know, maybe in future games, the thing is that every Zelda, they change it. So maybe in the next Zelda, they won't even have this puzzle mechanic, in which case there's really no opportunity to improve it because it's kind of already only for one game or whatever. I don't know. I would think maybe they would use it in another game only because, man, it must have taken them a tremendous amount of time to design this physics and puzzle engine, right? Like, it's very elaborate. It's very complex. It's one of the more unique things I've seen in a video game. And in reality, yeah, it has added a lot to my playthrough where I enjoy some of the ingenuity of the puzzles and things that they've designed in the game and the ways to do stuff. It seems like there's so many different ways to do things in this game, you know? And that's cool. That's a really well thought out thing about the game. So, I don't know. Like I said, I really still am liking the game. But at this point, you know, I'm 40 hours in. And it's like, well, what's left in the game? I could fully explore the underground. I could fully explore the sky. Is there a point? From what I'm to understand, there's one more major cutscene that I need to get for the plot, and then it's really to see the rest of the game. It's the fourth dungeon, and then like the final dungeon at the end of the game. Yeah, there's other stuff, but it's all side stuff, so it doesn't really even add to the main plot. So does it matter? The answer is no, it doesn't. If I was trying to purposefully make a 100-hour playthrough, I could put another 50, well, I guess after another 10 hours, it'll probably be about another 40 hours of gameplay on here. But is it really going to matter? And it's funny that everyone says, oh, you can upgrade your armor, and you can do this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm at the end of the game. I didn't need it. So what was it there for? Right? I just, you know, it really does kind of make me scratch my head. Because I don't know how someone could play the game and not understand what I say when I say there's blow. I just don't get it. But again, if maybe this is the game that you sat down and you were just so immersed in the world of Zelda and you couldn't wait, you were waiting 6 years painstakingly, when is this game coming out? Because I love Breath of the Wild so much and I can't wait for the next iteration. It comes out and everything you feel is fan service for you. Like every little town, every little tweak, every little thing, you know, was made just for you specially. And you're really enjoying every moment of it and it's the only thing you're playing and you're having a great time. I get it. Like I said, I feel like if that's the case, if you have that feeling of unlimited time, unlimited resources, and you can sit and enjoy it and it's all you're doing, this is probably the best open world game ever made. That's for you. But for me, that's not what I was going into it even wanting or expecting, because I knew that there were other games on the horizon in June that I was going to want to play for you guys. And I knew this is exactly what was going to happen, that at some point we were going to hit a series of time where I wasn't playing it a lot. And now it's like, well, do I really want to spend my time taking my time and make this a 3-month playthrough? Or do I want to just streamline it and try to get to these elements and continue on with progress, right? So, yeah, like to me, I can understand for sure everyone out there who's praising the game. All right, I get it. What I don't understand is why my opinion is not valid. I'm being honest now. Like, just because I'm different doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It just means that I'm trying to tell you from a different perspective how this game can be viewed. From my perspective, it is a very good game, but it's a game that leaves a lot to be desired because the pacing's bad, because there's too much extraneous content that doesn't really have meaning, and it seems like everyone's solution, whenever I come into something that I'm not liking about the game, is, well, you should have spent more time on doing it. But my criticism is that the game already takes too much time, and your answer is spend more time. That's not an answer. That just reinforces my criticism of the game, yet you're saying my criticism is invalid. That's what I don't understand. And I haven't seen a single person counter that. Besides, well, you should have went into this game with the mindset that you need to spend 100 hours. No. No. Because in reality, The story of the game isn't 100 hours long. You understand? It's not. It would be one thing if the game was like, here's 12 things you have to do on the map before you beat it, and it takes 100 hours to do all 12 things. Then fair enough. But no. There's 4 dungeons, and then there's the finale, and then, of course, there's the Tears of the Kingdom memories. Those are the real focuses of the game. Everything else in this world is extra. Literally every other thing is extra. And you can beat the game without ever having touched upon any of that. You know? And then, if I criticize that, that's not fair. Yes, it is. People need to stop living in that one tunnel vision situation. Because, again, I used to be that. I used to be that kind of a person. Where I was tunnel vision. And if you didn't agree with me, you're wrong. All right? All I want is for people to respect my opinion, whether or not you agree with it. Just respect the fact that there could be people out there who aren't in love with this game simply because they feel like it's too much. You know? It's 2023. We've all got a lot of stuff going on in our lives. We've all got a lot of stuff going on where it shouldn't be expected that every game, for me to enjoy it, needs to be a 100-hour investment experience. You know, it's funny because someone earlier in the stream chat said this comment. They said, well, the reason that people are criticizing your playthrough is because in the past, you would spend so much time doing all the meaningful content of a game, and it would be a full-on playthrough, and this one, you're not doing that. And I'm like, dude, I spent 40 hours in this game already, and I still got at the minimum another 10 to even see the end, and you're telling me I didn't spend enough time in it. That's what kills me. Because previously, games weren't this long. Do you understand? It wasn't until last console gen that games this lengthy even started to become possible on consoles. And now that they are, it seems like every game is willing to throw its hat into the ring. Let's make a 80 to 100 hour game. And it's like, but why are we having every game be that experience? Every once in a blue moon, you could get a great game that's maybe 100 hours. We don't need all these games to be this long. What it does, it takes away. It does. When you have that much, and especially a game like Zelda, again, if Zelda said you must complete these 12 things to beat the game, and by the way, they take 100 hours. Fair enough, then it's a 100-hour game. But Tears of the Kingdom is not a 100-hour game. It's about a 50-hour game, maybe 40 if you streamline it and know exactly what to do, with 50 hours of extra content on top of that if you feel like doing it. But then, if you feel like you're having difficulty with the game or not enjoying it as much, the answer shouldn't be, well, you should have invested more time on the extra content. No. The base core game should have been better and explained itself better and had less stressful situations to be an enjoyable game if you don't wish to partake in the optional content. Do you understand? You know what I mean? Like, to give you some perspective, and I know I'm an old school gamer, and a lot of people won't understand this reference. Let's say you're playing a classic Final Fantasy game. Usually, when you're playing a classic Final Fantasy game, you can play through the plot at a normal pace and beat the game just playing the plot. But usually, there's content along the way that's extra. It's your choice if you wish to do that content or not. And if you do and you invest time in a side quest or side exploration or side dungeon, usually there's a challenging boss at the end, a super boss. And if you beat that super boss, you'll get a big reward, like a rare item or weapon or something that will now make you more powerful and make you like steamroll through the main game, correct? In Zelda, it's not like that. You understand? In this game, it's kind of like the side stuff is just there and you should be doing it anyway. But what if I'm just trying to play through the story? Well, too bad. You should have been doing all the side content too. Well, maybe I don't want to. Maybe I don't find enjoyment in it. Maybe I got other things I need to do and I just want to enjoy the main quest line, right? And the answer shouldn't be you should have dumped even more hours into the game to do the side stuff. That's never a solution. If you're having struggle or you're not enjoying the main stuff in the game, the answer is you should have dumped more time into it. That's not the answer. Sorry, it's just not. It should, it's what I mean, like side content, and it's optional and meaningful if you do it, if you really love the game, versus side content and it's just there and that's what you're doing to play the game, just to be necessary to advance through the game. I don't know. Anyway, I've now talked about Tears of the Kingdom for like 40 minutes. So I could literally go on forever and ever and ever and ever about this. I could. What's funny, I'm not even kidding you right now, Super Mario Sunshine fan says, the only side content that's basically necessary is the Great Fairy armor upgrades, which you didn't do. Yes, I did. First of all, the game never points them out. You have to find them on your own, because they're based on a side quest through a stable, which never explains that that's what it is. Once you find it, The first thing you find out is, oh, you need to gather random components through random combat in the world to upgrade your armor. I had played like 30 plus hours by the time I found the first Great Fairy, and guess what? I didn't even have the components to upgrade a single piece of armor. So what's the solution? Spend more time in the game, grinding and doing combat, trying to find gathering items, gathering quests. Like, what are you talking about? No, that should not be the solution. That literally should not be the solution, to dump more time into the game I'm telling you is too bloated to begin with. That's never the solution. Elden Ring did get this criticism, Evil Ann. People just didn't listen to it. They wrote off my criticism of Elden Ring. By the final third of Elden Ring, the entire game seems bloated, seems way too repetitive, and runs out of original ideas. I outright said that in my review and said it's not a Game of the Year slam hit. It's not the best FromSoft game ever. In fact, I thought Dark Souls 1 was better than Elden Ring. But you're funny, no one remembers that, right? No one remembers that. That I actually 100% criticized Elden Ring. No one remembers, because they want to only selectively remember what they want. So, that's the funny part too. Like, I can't make people stop being prejudiced against me. I can't make people actually listen to me. You have to listen for yourself and be a logical human and stop listening with the intention that you just want to make me look bad. I've outright criticized other giant games like this as well, and people didn't listen to that criticism either. Okay? Anyway, in short, in summary, I do like Tears of the Kingdom. I just don't feel it's flawless. I think that it's a great game, but I feel like it's bloated and the pacing's bad. At this point, I'm actually happy that I'm going to start heading into the direction of the finale, that we're almost done with it. Yeah, by the end of this game, I probably will never have fought one of those optional three-headed dragon bosses. I probably will not have seen most of the optional dungeons and content. I probably will never go visit the Great Deku Tree of the Lost Woods or half of the underground content. And guess what? I don't need to, because it has nothing to do with the game. It's just there for the sake of having more content that doesn't add to the actual experience of the plot. So I don't care. I just want to see the end of the game at this point. I've already spent 40 hours in it. I know it's probably going to be another 10 to beat it. That's enough for Zelda for me. I don't need to have a 100-hour experience with Zelda. I just don't. Especially when I'm playing other games that have my interest now. And I'd much rather play them. Just being honest. Like right now, if you were to ask me, would you rather play Zelda, Diablo, Final Fantasy, or Street Fighter? Probably I'd say Street Fighter #1, because I've been addicted to this game for the month. And then I'd probably say, probably Zelda and Diablo are about equal. Right now, I want to play more Final Fantasy 16 because I'm curious what the game's going to go. I don't know if it'll stay like that. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's basically like the back burner game balanced with other stuff for me. This is a game that, again, if it had released at a time of the year when there was nothing else going on, and I played it a little bit more, I probably would have liked it more, right? Or, if it was a game that was more streamlined, didn't have as much of this open world bloat, rehashing stuff from the first game has no meaning in this game, probably would have been better. I don't know. Play goals, does this mean you like Breath of the Wild more than this one? Well, I'd like to reserve that judgment till I beat it. What I'll tell you is this. The gameplay mechanics of this one are better, but I feel like because of the fact that you're in the same world and there's so much bloat and nothing really feel like in the first game, everywhere you went, you were like a sense of wonder and awe. I discovered a new thing. Wow, Kakariko Village is in this one? That's cool. Ooh, the Lost Woods. What's the new version of the Lost Woods in this one? Look at this. I could ride a dragon and get a cool thing. There was all this stuff in that first game. And in this game, it's kind of like, well, you've already seen the dragons. You've already seen all the locations. You've already seen all of it. There's a little bit of a different twist. Where's the real wonder? Solving the physics puzzles in this one. Building things and that's the wonder in this game. What's the creative way to use the physics in the building to solve puzzles and get around challenges? But outside of that, you've kind of like already seen all this. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that a lot of that wonderment's lost in this one. And does that mean it's worse? I don't know. Let me beat the game. Let me actually finish it because we're getting close to the end. Let me finish it, and then I'll honestly give you my summarized opinion once I beat it. But right now, yeah, I'll be honest. I might have liked Breath of the Wild more than this one. We'll have to see by the time that we're all said and done. I don't know right now. I'd like to actually, get to the end and see how it all ends and stuff like that, okay? All right, that went way longer than I even intended. Let's get to shout-outs because we're running out of time, okay? So, a bunch of super chats came in, all from the same person. Someone called Fallon Fallindiculous. Get it? Fallindiculous, like a phallus and a dick. Fallindiculous. Well, that's a really hilarious name. So their first super chat, they say, I hope one day you'll go back and do a Tears of the Kingdom redemption run when your gaming schedule is less busy. I think you would really like it if you felt less pressure to make X amount of progress every stream. You do realize that will never happen. Like, when in my life will I be able to sit down and say, I have unlimited time to play this game? This is my job. You understand? Unlike anyone else where playing the video game is the thing outside of the job for enjoyment to unwind for the job, this is the job for me. So there's always going to be me balancing things with other stuff. There's always going to be me having time constraints of a stream. That literally can't happen. And I think that's one of the points I'm making, is when every game now is becoming 40 plus hours and every game has giant open worlds with optional content that's full of bloat that's not essential to the plot, this is what happens, is that you can't really fully enjoy those style of games. It's just not for a streamer or content creator like myself. You understand? I'm happy that I'm still able to enjoy the game as much as I have, because I really feel like if I skipped it entirely, I would have regretted it. So I'm happy that I'm playing the game and enjoying it for what it is. I really am. And I want to say thank you to those who've been respectful of my opinions, and thank you to those who are understanding of why I can't play it at, tons. A lot of people, oh, every streamer already beat this game. Yeah, take a look at how they beat it. When it came out, they literally played it for 2 weeks straight and beat it. Me, I was balancing a million other playthroughs like I always do, and like I say, I'm the jack of all trades, the master of none. I'm not just going to sit here and drop everything to play the same game for 2 weeks, So, thank you for those who are understanding, but I don't ever see myself being able to just sit down and be like, hey, I could just sit here and play Tears of the Kingdom nonstop for 100 hours for 2-3 weeks straight and never have an interruption, and everything's fine and no one's going to complain and we're good to go. I don't think so. How would that ever happen, right? Okay. I got another super chat from Fallindiculous. Maybe a year or two down the road, you can play Tears of the Kingdom like you played your recent Skyrim and Oblivion playthroughs. Well, see, that's a different animal entirely. You're talking about not playing it as an ongoing role playthrough, but more of like a chill stream deal, extended period. I mean, that could possibly work. The thing is, I'm already kind of playing it as a chill stream. You understand? Like, that's kind of how I've already tackled it. And people already are like, why are you playing this? Do other stuff. You see? I really feel like the Bethesda games, for some reason, they resonate with my audience. Whether it's an Elder Scrolls game, whether it's a Fallout game, they find a way to resonate with my audience, and there's a big fan base for that likes to tune into my streams of it. With Zelda, I just don't feel that. And the weird thing is, I love Zelda. It's not like I don't like the game, but I just don't feel like people who watch my content have that same kind of connection with Nintendo as they do with Bethesda for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because my earlier playthroughs were a lot of Bethesda stuff. I don't know. Fallindiculous did another super chat. Tears of the Kingdom is definitely bloated. The bloat is higher quality than virtually every other open world game. That, arguably, you're correct. I'm literally not saying that the content of the game is bad. You ever noticed that, right? I haven't said, hey man, it's so bad. I just said it's extra, and it's not necessary. Bloat doesn't necessarily mean bad content. It just means so much content that you feel swollen and overburdened. That's really my best description of Tears of the Kingdom. I feel kind of overburdened with the amount of content that they have put into this game for me. Fallindiculous did another super chat. Says bloat isn't necessarily a negative word. And there you go. I have to agree with that. I'm not saying, when I say bloat, everyone immediately thinks this is some kind of a toxic negative comment. It's not. It's, just think of it this way. Right? You sit down at a restaurant to eat a delicious meal. They feed you course after course after course. Now, there's the main course. That's the most delicious part. It's super filling and amazingly delicious and amazing. You're glad you had it. But then there's all these other things. There's appetizer. There's palate cleansers coming in. There's bread, delicious bread with butter over here. You want to partake in that too. But what happens is you're partaking so much in the meal, you're bloated now. And you got to deal with that after you've feasted. And that's kind of how I feel like. There's great stuff in this game everywhere, in every direction. The problem is, by the time that you get through it all, you feel so bloated because it took so long to get through, right? Now, what if you're someone who's on a time constraint? You have an appointment after dinner you have to get to, But instead of them feeding you the delicious entree that you're waiting for, they keep bringing you appetizers, palate cleansers, bread, and filler, and they're not giving you the main course. I need to get to the main course or I'm going to be late for my appointment. That's how it feels playing Tears of the Kingdom for me. Not everyone's going to feel like that at all. A lot of people will feel completely different. That's how I felt the whole playthrough almost. Seriously. You keep feeding me good things. I'm not unhappy with the good things you're feeding me, but you keep feeding me good things and not giving me what I came for, the main course. And I need to go. I gotta leave. Get it? All right. Now we move to the tip side of things. I have a $2 tip. That's anonymous. Thank you for a $2 anonymous tip, whoever that was. Okay. What I will say is this, just thanks to anyone who respects it, my opinion. You don't have to agree. I'm trying to be very respectful to everyone who disagrees with me. Listen, you have the right to do that. Absolutely you do. If you love the game, you love the game. I like it. I don't love it. You know? But if you love the game, I respect your opinion. I certainly believe that you're probably in a very different position in life than I am, that you can sit there and enjoy it at length as much as you have. I'm glad you did. And maybe you're right. Maybe if I was a different person in a different perspective, I absolutely positively would be liking the game more. But that's my perspective. I'm sitting in a fine dining restaurant and they just keep feeding me small finger foods rather than feeding me the entree, but I've got to go. And I'm enjoying my stay, but my God, I'm getting pressure. My people are texting, blowing up my phone. You got to go, man. You got an appointment to get to. And I'm like, but I'm still eating my delicious Zelda meal. It's not ending yet. I'm 40 hours in. The meal continues. And people are like, no, move on. There's other things outside the restaurant you need to experience. Like, no, the meal, it's still coming. I swear there's a big Goron steak coming. I need to eat the Goron steak. Okay. Yeah. Charles is tapas. They keep feeding me tapas foods and not bringing me the main course. Where's the main course? Right? I received a $1 tip. What's up, Arkham? How you doing? So someone sent me $1 and they're asking a ridiculous question like, what are you gonna do after you're done with YouTube and all of that, because you don't have any 401k or retirement or anything? Well, first of all, you have no idea what I have, right? You don't. You're assuming. I mean, I had no money when I had a bankruptcy 3 years ago. The good news is, you know, I'm hoping to maintain and get better and improve my position over the years. And hopefully, eventually, I will be able to be putting stuff aside if I'm not already, which is none of your business if I am or not. But like I said, definitely with what I've seen, it seems like no matter what I do on YouTube, I know that I have a fan base. It doesn't matter if we're playing a video game, if I'm doing a podcast where I'm ranting about a topic or talking about news or whatever, if I'm doing React style content now, which has now become a part of my repertoire, or if we're just kind of chilling and doing Q&A, like no matter what I'm doing, I've got a fan base, and that fan base likes me and likes my content and supports it. So even though you might argue, okay, well, you're 41, you're getting older, well, how long will we be a YouTuber? Well, I don't have to be a gamer YouTuber. I could do anything on YouTube or another site, all the competition that's been popping up recently. I could do this essentially, you know, my life, you know, and one day, of course, you always have that expectation that maybe one day I can retire and I'll have enough of a nest egg or whatever that I don't have to make daily content anymore. That would be great to be able to actually, you know, retire a bit and spend time with my wife, but you know, that's something to think about for the future. I'm only a few years removed from a bankruptcy. I've got to maintain the course. I've got to keep going, plugging away, keep doing the things better than I used to, right? And essentially get myself to a more financially feasible, healthy position. And once I'm there, right, and I get a credit that's built back up, maybe I can do some things with financing and stuff that'll make my life better. And once I get to that point, then you start thinking about, do I want to change it up? Do I not want to be a full-time gamer anymore? Do I want to diversify my time, do different kinds of content, reach out and do different collaborations and things? Right now is not the time for that. Right now, things, you know, I got to maintain the course of what I'm doing. And I've already, you know, kind of struck out this year or reached out this year with new content. trying something new with DSP Reacts, which is, you know, it's there. It's slow, but it's still existing and it is profitable. I feel like in time it will grow and get better. It's something that I have to get better at and find better content for over time, right? But to me, it's just like, from my perspective, I'm not like, oh, well, I just have to quit YouTube. Like, that's crazy. No, but potentially, like I've told you guys, I've enjoyed being my own boss for so long. I absolutely, positively could be someone who continues to make content of some capacity forever. It just doesn't have to be a full-time capacity, right? Instead of being the guy who's here 6 days a week full-time playing video games and podcasting, I could be the guy who part-time is doing discussion shows and podcasting and current events and news discussions, and maybe every once in a while casually dabbling in a video game here or there that I really enjoy, but it's not necessarily my full-time thing forever. You know what I'm saying? But again, you know, those things, here's what I found. If you are someone who can sit down at any point in your life and you can look and say, in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, here's my plan and I'm sticking to it, you are living a life of luxury. You're living a life of insulation. For the vast majority of my life, I have never known what was going to be happening in just a year or two, let alone 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Take a look at my life. Just look back 5 years before today, right? How different and tumultuous my life was. Another 5 years. Every 5 years, my life has completely changed. So how anyone has this crazy luxury of saying, I'm going to plot out my life, and in 20 years, I'll have a 401k that's fully funded. I'll be able to retire nicely and not make YouTube videos and do that. That's a crazy luxury in life. Seriously. Like, you're lucky if you're able to do that. Be happy that your parents probably provided you with financial stability in your youth so you could get an education, you could go out and get a great job, and you could have a family right away, and you have stability and all that. A lot of people on this planet don't have that. I've never had that. In my entire life, I've never had that stability. It's always something fluctuating, uncertain, weird, and different. I didn't choose that life. That's the life that I stumbled into, and the cards that I was dealt, and I'm just doing the best with what's handed to me. You understand? I wish that I could tell you that, yes, I have a 20-year plan that by the time I'm in my early 60s, I have a fully funded 401k and I could stop making YouTube videos entirely and ride off into the sunset of retirement. It's not possible right now. Long term, yes, maybe. Right now, I'm just trying to get to the point where I'm stable every month. I'm paying all of my stuff. I'm not behind on anything. And I have enough flexibility so that if something goes wrong, like my car breaks down or my fucking tire gets stolen, right? Or I get something breaks in the house or a piece of equipment breaks, I need to quickly replace it, that I have the flexibility to do that right away. Once I'm to that point, then you can look and say, oh, maybe now I have a little bit extra every month I could put aside for something, right? But right now, I wish I had that. I'm not even to that point of just even Steven before I can start looking to say, oh, there's extra to put aside now. Do you understand? Okay, I hope that makes sense. Well, I've got another dollar tip. This doesn't even make sense. Since you're crowdfunded, you have to always depend on people, even if you stop playing games. What could you do to make money for yourself, but also not have to be crowdfunded? Nothing. Literally everything in life is crowdfunding. Literally everything. But if you have your own business, you rely on the customers to come fund your business and buy your product. If you work for a company, you rely on that company to provide a workplace and employment and work to do. Everything is always dependent on something else. There's literally nothing on planet Earth that's 100% dependent on yourself. Doesn't exist. Unless you're a hermit and you live in the fucking woods and you're chopping the trees down and you're eating squirrels off the tree. But even then, you're dependent on the tree to be there and stay healthy and the squirrel to be there to eat. It just doesn't exist. You're living a fantasy life. Really. You're living a fantasy world. Doesn't exist. What you're saying is a myth perpetrated by people who like to feel safe on this planet, when in reality, there's no such thing as safety. Because at any moment, the sun could go supernova and we're all dead. So there's no safety. Space aliens could come down and liquefy us all with a gun in 5 seconds. There's nothing we can do. In life, nothing's certain. No safety. Stop that ridiculous feeling right now. Oh, but what are you going to do to insulate yourself? You can't insulate yourself, ever. Doesn't exist. Grim Ripper did a super chat. If I get a Nintendo Switch, which Zelda game should I go with? I might get a Switch. I might even get an Xbox One X for Starfield. Man, I would start with Breath of the Wild. And if you really like Breath of the Wild, then get Tears of the Kingdom. Seriously, that would be my suggestion. Generic Fan says Final Fantasy 16 Pillow Talk bad, but Ishin Bathhouse okay. Yes. Anyway, Only I7 did a super chat, says go to Kick. I don't see any reason to go to Kick. I enjoy being on YouTube and having my audience here. I have absolutely no aspirations to blow up and make giant money, which it seems like everyone who's running to Kick is exactly what they want. Oh, the Twitch party's over. Run to Kick. That's the new land of milk and honey where you can do whatever you want and make big bucks. Why do I need to do that? I'm not looking to do that. I'm not going to ever get virally popular on Kick or anywhere else. I'm happy being who I am with the audience I have. I'm not being complacent. I'm being a realist. These people who jump from trend to trend, this is what they're doing. They're just trying to stay on top of this big money-making game. To them, that's what it is. It's a game. Get the bag. That's not what this is for me. It's not get the bag. If it was get the bag, I would have taken every money-making opportunity I was presented. And if you haven't noticed, I've turned down a lot of them. You see? Kick is a new competitor to Twitch streaming. I don't know too much about them because I haven't really looked into it because I'm not looking for a competing streaming service to stream on. Am I planning on giving the Texas Chainsaw game a try on Game Pass in August? I don't know. If it's on Game Pass, I might, but if it's just like Friday the 13th, probably not. Been there, done that. The 4v1 survival game is kind of played out at this point, I feel. So. Yes, of course I played Metal Gear Solid 3. Alright, guys, it's time to end the show before we go too late. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, some people at the very least now at least understand my perspective on Tears of the Kingdom and will hopefully respect it. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. I'm just saying I hope you respect it. Because I've been in a lot of disrespect recently in regards to the playthrough. It's like, I don't remember playing the game and really slamming it and saying it's bad. You know, I don't necessarily remember any of these things that people are reacting to in a way that it feels like it should be actually get this level of vitriol against me. Just because I'm saying I'm not in love with the game and it's a masterpiece like a lot of people have said. I don't get that. Why am I not entitled to my own opinion? It just seems like there's a lot of nastiness on the internet right now. And it is what it is. You know, you sign up for that when you're a content creator, but just abnormally for this playthrough, which is really, really weird in my opinion. So hopefully now you at very least understand where I'm coming from and understand that as I play this game and I continue, I'm going to be focusing on main story development and finishing it. And I'm pretty much, now that I'm going to do the rest of, the Tears of the Dragons plotline, once that's done, that's pretty much where the side content ends with me, and I'm going to do my absolute best to continue, with the playthrough and wrap up the main story. So, okay, guys, thank you so very much for a great podcast so far, and thank you for watching. Tomorrow, we're going to be swapping over to some Street Fighter fun, and I'm sure that's going to be a little different, right? But that's pretty cool that every day we can have a different kind of show, right? So thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, and peace out. Okay. All right, guys. Let's get set up. I do have to pee before we start, but outside of that, I'm pretty much ready to go. Like I said, we actually ended on a big cliffhanger here, playing Final Fantasy the other day, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Will there be another boss fight? Because I'm out of items. Like, I spent everything on that 2v1 boss. So maybe it'll just be cutscenes or something to resolve what's going on. I'm not sure. Oops. Let's see here. Am I centered? I think I am. I look good, right?